It's impossible to explain the satisfaction, actually the joy I've experienced being a Giant.
Bless you. Thank you.
But did you like it though? Did you double tap? No, I want you to go back and like the picture.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper?
Welcome back to the Pan Am Football Draft Hub. I'm Max Dean, and you can find me on Twitter at Pan Am Football. This is the final video in the draft analytics section for the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Another that's a little bit shorter, but at least we have more to go on than the Houston Texans. If you like what you see, throw a like my way. It does help and mean a lot. It gets the videos out there, and I've been putting a lot of work into this. So if you want to help me get out there, all you got to do is hit that button. And if you want more of my content, just hit subscribe, because we have every single team in the NFL coming at you with all of these statistics, as well as salary cap stuff for every team on top of that. So let's dive in. Jacksonville Jaguars. They, like Texans, fall under the rookie category, so they're only being compared to the other 8 teams, so 9 total, that have less than 3 drafts under their current management. And their current management is now the Urban Meyer dynasty. And Urban Meyer has come over from the retired/college ranks to offer what he successfully did in college in a number of different programs, and see if it works in the NFL. And because of that, it's hard to say exactly what their NFL team building strategy is going to be. But I'm going to talk about some key factors in how front offices work and how the Jaguars might be approaching that. So Urban Meyer is the head coach, hired this year. He was previously head coach of Ohio State, although he's been retired for a couple of years. No seasons or record to speak of yet. Trent Baalke, the GM, was hired internally, so he was already part of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When David Caldwell was released last year, they ended up hiring Urban Meyer as head coach, and then decided to hire internally for the GM position. Hiring internally is not the end of the world. However, the way that they've gone about this is a little bit interesting to me, and something I'd be a little bit nervous about. Most teams in the NFL have a structure that follows one or the other in terms of their front office structure. The GM and the head coach are basically on equal levels, both reporting to the owner, or the GM is the top executive and the head coach falls directly underneath him. Either one of those do work as long as the relationship between the head coach and GM is good and the communication is excellent. I tend to believe that the one that doesn't work is having the head coach be the top executive. Now, that's how it works in college for the most part. The head coach is the number one executive in the football program. The athletic director, he does have power over him in certain ways, but he also has other sports to worry about, and he more has hiring and firing power, and he doesn't necessarily get involved in, day-to-day operations and help look for players. I mean, there is some working together, but the coach is the one who communicates with and goes out and recruits kids to bring into the program. The coach is the one who decides who he wants to recruit. The coach is the one who decides, how he goes about doing it. The athletic director has to work with him for all the scholarship stuff, but it's just so wildly different than the NFL. In the NFL, there are literally player transactions every single day. And so if your head coach is dictating your personnel, which I'm pretty sure that's how it's working in Jacksonville, that's just a lot to be in charge of, especially as a first-time head coach in the NFL, because things just work differently. As far as I know, the only coach who has ever successfully, over a long period of time, been both the head coach and the top executive in terms of personnel is Bill Belichick. I don't think it's the type of scenario that you try and recreate, just because I think it's so unique to New England. So we'll see. Maybe it will work for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just think that, history tells us it's unlikely to. In their only draft so far, they have drafted Trevor Lawrence, quarterback from Clemson, in the first round, and Travis Etienne, running back from Clemson, in the first round. They also got Tyson Campbell from Georgia and Walker Little from Stanford in the second round, as well as Andre Cisco from Syracuse in the third round. So overall, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a third-round pick, 2 fourth-round picks. That is a tremendous number of picks. It's a fantastic start to rebuilding your franchise. You get the quarterback early. You go at least 3 out of 4 for premium positions with your top 4 picks. I can say that drafting a running back in the first round, I am finding it harder and harder to justify it in any way. There are some non-premium positions I'm fine with, but there is a big difference between drafting a linebacker in the back of the first round or even an interior offensive lineman and running back, because at least those players, if you hit on them, you've given yourself the opportunity to extend them, versus having to find them in free agency. Whereas with running back, I'm not even sure you want to extend running backs. I'm not even sure if that's desirable. And so I think that's one of the early things that you're seeing where you might have some positional value concerns, where in college running back is super important. But in the NFL, it's not the same. Overall, though, I really do like the structure of the draft in general, and it's hard for me to just harp on the one pick. I feel like you could have certainly gotten more value out of it, but it is what it is. With the amount of cap space that they have, they could have, signed the best running back available. They could have made a push for Aaron Jones and then spent that first round pick on a more important position. But I'll digress from that for now. Ultimately, I do like the overall draft class, and the question is just going to be, are they going to consistently build classes like this? And no, they're not always going to have 2 firsts and 2 seconds, but are they going to be able to consistently collect enough picks? Are they going to prioritize collecting the picks? And are they going to be able to avoid falling down the hole of prioritizing impactful college positions over impactful NFL positions? And I know that college and NFL are getting closer together, but the difference in talent between college and NFL just dictates that certain positions are not as important. It's just a fact. The other thing that's interesting to see here, and I'm not sure if this will necessarily change or not, but early in Urban Meyer's tenure, it's obvious that they are valuing Power 5 players. The only non-Power 5 player that they selected in all of these picks is Jordan Smith, the edge, and that's not Alabama. It's supposed to be Alabama-Birmingham, which is still a pretty big school for football. So are they going to be able to look outside of just those Power 5 schools? Because, yeah, the majority of talent is found there, but as we've seen with others even already, and we'll see more, you can find really good players at smaller schools. So it's just one of those things where, are you going to rely too heavily on those Power 5 schools and rob yourself of those small school talents? And are you comfortable with your scouting department to find those guys? Or do you want to run everything, and so you just decide on the players that you already know? So they've only had 2 picks in the first round so far. So 50% premium position since they took a running back, 100% offense. So without a whole lot to go on here, they've made 2 picks, but both in the same draft. So it doesn't really give you a tremendous amount of insight, but we'll see if this trend continues. Because if they do end up averaging 50% in terms of premium positions, that's just not good enough. So I'm not going to harp on it again now because you just don't know if they will continue that way. But I would say if they do, it's a problem. You need to average definitely a significantly higher percent in favor of premium positions in the first round. I would like to say at least around 70% would be ideal. So in the premium rounds, which are rounds 1 through 3, they've spent 60% of all of their picks on premium positions. So they had 5 picks and spent 3 on premium positions, 2 on non-premium. They went 60% on offense and 40% on defense. I think this is also a trend that Urban Meyer will prioritize, and I'm curious to see if he changes, because the tendency in the NFL is to spend more picks on defense and prioritize defense over a long period of time that I've seen so far, but rebuilding teams often do spend more on offense. So when you're building up your team, you want to have a successful offense as quickly and early as possible because you're not going to win games without it. And then often I've seen teams kind of circle around and end up investing more on defense, which I think it makes a lot of sense. Being versatile on defense is something that allows you to be less predictive, and I think that's an important part to consistently winning in the NFL, but that's a topic for another day. Other than that, they've been pretty well kind of varied over all of the different position groups, although instead of investing equally in defensive line as well, they went a little bit heavier on defensive skill. I know that they probably already have some talent in Jacksonville for defensive line, but I definitely think that would have been a nice place to invest early. And then for all rounds 1 through 7, they have spent 67% of all of their selections on premium positions, and they're still definitely weighted towards offense substantially with 56% of their picks. With only one draft, it's hard to look too much at any of these because you're going to be skewed heavily with anywhere you even put one pick. But I will be interested to see if they add a little bit more on the offensive line. I think that's an important part of the NFL that doesn't necessarily translate as much to college either. Yeah, a lot of colleges, they do prioritize having good offensive linemen, depending on which conference you play in. But I think, high caliber athletes at the offensive skill positions can sometimes, get around not that great offensive linemen. It's just not the same in the NFL. So I think there are a few lessons that if Urban Meyer continues the trend, he's going to have to learn the hard way about investing in offensive line and investing more in NFL important positions versus college important positions. But we'll see if he gets there. It's a trend that's clear here, but we can't say that he's going to be doing that long term. We just don't know. He may already have a plan in place to move away from that, so we will see. In terms of the total number of picks per draft, obviously with only one draft, they made 9 picks. So it's not a very long-term average, but it's definitely the number of picks that I would like to see consistently, at least on average. You don't need 2 first-round picks every year. It's great to kick off a rebuild with it, but the 5 picks in the premium rounds, that's fantastic. So you can get 4.5 to 5 picks in the premium rounds consistently. That is really going to help you out a lot. And then I also like that at least they have 4 late round picks. I would have liked more. I would have liked even 5. That would have been really nice and go with 10 picks total. But I'm not going to dwell on it too much. But if you end up dropping down from 5 to 4 in the premium round, I definitely want you to jump up a couple of picks in the late rounds. I want to see a little bit more, investment there. It was a weird draft. So considering it's the only one that they've had so far, I'm not going to say this is an issue, but I want to see more in future drafts. And it's a little weird to see more premium round picks than late round picks in a draft. And so if that's a trend that continues, it's going to be hard to maintain enough late round picks to consistently have this high number of premium round picks. So I want to make sure that the ratio kind of evens out a little bit. All in all, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be a lesson in front office structure for us all. If this is successful, then we can look and start to bring in guys from the college ranks who want to be more in charge of personnel. I think other teams have even done that a little bit. Like, we might see some similarities with the Carolina Panthers, but I do not believe it is to the same degree as in Jacksonville. I think in Jacksonville, Urban Meyer is the top guy. It's clear. I don't think there's any question. I think if he says, I want to draft that player gets drafted. I think if he says, I want to sign that player gets signed. And so I'm a little concerned about that level of authority, because I think in the NFL world, you need collaboration. You need to really focus on what your role is in the organization and have other guys who are focused on theirs and work well with them versus, trying to take on too much. And we'll see if that continues. And I'm not even, to be 100% sure, I'm really not even sure if it would have worked in New England if they didn't have Tom Brady. I genuinely believe that Bill Belichick is a tremendous coach, but I do believe that it is possible that without Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, the GM, could have gotten Bill Belichick, the coach, fired way before we've gotten to see this level of dynastic success. And I'm not saying that Bill Belichick wouldn't be a tremendous coach without Tom Brady, but I'm saying that it is certainly possible that Bill Belichick, the GM, would not have gone or would not have allowed Bill Belichick, the coach, to shine if Tom Brady was not there. So, and I'm not saying that's a fact. I'm just saying I think it's a realistic possibility. So if Trevor Lawrence is not that type of player, that really high-end level of quarterback, we may not see this last too terribly long. But again, check back for the Jacksonville Jaguars salary cap video this coming weekend. I'll be here maybe Friday or Saturday. And let me know which teams you want to see next, because I believe we're going to be doing the NFC South next week and possibly the NFC West after that by request. But the sooner you get in your requests, the sooner I will start to work on those videos.